How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your monthly forecast for Leo for December of 2018. Okay, Leo. Oh yeah, before I forget to say this, because I'm making sure I say this in every single one of my videos, if you watch this from your rising sign or your sun sign. I write and record these horoscopes from the ascendant, so if you're a Leo sun, like I am, you know, I always watch my sun horoscope, but I also always watch it from my rising sign. So definitely make sure you watch these videos from your rising sign as well. Anyway, Leo, oh boy. This month is going to be very interesting for you guys because there is a lot of things churning in the pot. And that's really the best way to put it in a sense. So I guess let's go ahead and begin with December. Let's put it this way. Mercury's retrograde in my first house right now. I'm so scatterbrained everywhere. But on December 1st, hold on, fuck. Okay, there's 3 big days in December that I've been wanting to tell everyone about. December 1st, December 7th, and then December 22nd. Those are going to be the 3 big astrology days this month for you guys. So we're going to be mainly talking about those. But starting off on December 1st, we have Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio. So Mercury has been retrograde in your 5th house. It's been kind of, So Mercury's been in your 5th house where it's been really trying to expand on what it wants to pursue, where its mind wants to really go. Mercury's retrograde where it's now really starting to think that, rethink that. As Mercury goes back into Scorpio, back in your 4th house, I feel like you're going to find yourself very much centered and, what's the best way to put it? Mercury's been pretty confused in Sagittarius. As it goes back into Scorpio, it's going to become very clear, but I think that, Mercury being the messenger, Mercury is such a communicative thing. I think Mercury is going to find itself getting the message correctly and finding the meaning and the truth in the message that it wants to portray. And I think this is going to be a big time of setting yourself on the message that you want to relay. Because Mercury and Sag is kind of like adding spice and flavor to that message. But Mercury in Scorpio, as it goes back into Scorpio, it's still retrograde. I think this is when you're going to become very clear of what the truth of that message is, what the essence of that is. So also on the 1st, we have the Sun squaring Mars. And this is a pretty big deal because as we've had this year go out, we've had the Mars retrograde and all the eclipses on top of it. This is just a continuation of that story, and this is, Mars's last square before it conjuncts the Sun. So we has one more dilemma, one more difficult problem to kind of get through in order to get to the top. So Mars is now in your guys' 8th house. The 8th house is scary. The 8th house is death, sex, transformation, rebirth, transmutation, other people's money, tax, government, prisons. The 8th house is quite a bit. As Mars goes through the 8th house, though, Mars knows that he's in a Mars likes the danger, but Mars is in Pisces, where Mars doesn't necessarily always want to associate with the danger. Mars is trying to figure out where exactly he stands in a place like this, if he wants to be connected and influenced or if he wants to detach. And so as Mars is in Pisces, when you're starting to go through this transmutation, you're really starting to find yourself in a very vulnerable place with what your next step is and you're not sure where to go. The Sun in Sagittarius is going to be trining your ascendant or trining your Sun. It's in your 5th house. The Sun is making sure that you are in alignment with, hey, make sure you know what you're pursuing. Make sure you know that you want it. Make sure that you know that you are on a journey. You are on a path. You are not, you're not just levitating to point B. You're not just, showing up there. You have a journey to go through. And as Mars goes through Pisces, this is going to be, the very interesting, the very scary, and the very, I like to just say interesting time in that development. The Mars in Pisces doesn't know what its next step is going to be, but the Sun squaring it is just making sure, like, hey, you guys need to really focus on what it is that you want to pursue, and remember that you're on a path, you are on a trail. You guys aren't done yet. You're not done. You're not there. You still got a ways to go. Just because it's scary, just because it's unclear, just because it's foggy doesn't mean you got to stop. Moving on December 1st still. Venus is going to oppose Uranus at 29 degrees Aries in Libra. So this is happening in your 9th and your 3rd house. So as Uranus has been dipped back into your 9th house, he's retrogrades back in Aries. This is where your sense of belief, your sense of philosophy, your sense of, you know, travel and adventure and spiritualism, all that stuff is just getting amped up right now. You're starting to feel liberated and excited from all this stuff. It's very invoking energy of action. However, Venus is in Libra, where Venus is in your 3rd house. This is all about, you know, siblings, neighbors, more local environment. Also has a lot to do with, you know, communication, your writing and thinking style. It has a lot to do with how you actually apply yourself. And with Venus being in your 3rd house now, where it also is about short distance travel too, Venus is wanting you guys to make sure that if you are wanting to take this sporadic, this rebellious, this inspirational action on these beliefs that are now flying through you, it's kind of like Uranus going back into Aries in your 9th house is like, man, what was I thinking? Like, this is what I feel like I can do. This is what I believe that I can do. It's time to go for it. Venus in Libra is making sure that you do that with tact, making sure that you do that, you know, controllably, that you're not just going willy-nilly and that you're actually doing crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's, but not just, you know, scribbling it, like writing it in cursive. Make it nice, make it palatable, make it tasteful with how you do it and how you express it. Like, this isn't the time to just be loud and proud. This is the time to make sure that your words, that your actions, that your sense of value and your sense of what you're trying to bring together, what you're trying to create is coming from that space of Venus and Libra, of beauty, of harmony, of reason. So that's going to be a huge deal. As Venus opposes Uranus, you're going to feel ready to take that action, and you got to do it with grace. You got to do it with tact, do it with style. You guys are Leo risings. Come on. Don't screw this up. Anyway, so then the next day, Venus goes into Scorpio on December 2nd. So as Venus goes into Scorpio, where she's backtracked over, you know, she's still in shadow. She went into Scorpio, went retrograde, got scared. She didn't know where to send herself. She didn't know where her home was. She came back home. Well, technically, if this is your talking about your third or fourth house, she went to your sibling's home, and she got comfortable and pumped up there. Now, as Venus moves forward through Scorpio, this is about understanding the raw power that you guys are about to center yourselves in, and the raw emotion that is going to come along with that. You Leo risings have that Scorpio 4th house where, you know, the home life, family, it's always really intense and insane. But this is also the 4th house of how you center yourself, where you ground yourself, and that energy is very valuable to you guys. So as Venus goes through Scorpio, this is about knowing that this is going to be a scary new path, knowing that you're doing something out of your comfort zone, but it's also really about valuing your passion and really valuing, you know, the dedication and the loyalty that you have to whatever it is that you want to pursue, whatever Venus looks like to you right now in your life. And it's just about getting real and raw with it and being centered in that. Because it's going to be way easier to do that rather than just being scared the whole time. Then, skip a couple days later to December 7th, the second big day that we got going on, we have Mars conjuncting Neptune. So Neptune's been in your 8th house, so again, you know, sex, death, rebirth, transformation, text, and stuff like that, you know, Neptune just puts kind of a foggy illusion over everything. And again, when we're talking about the 8th house, we're talking about nightmares, we're talking about change, and we're talking about the vulnerability of change. As Mars hits Neptune, I believe that the reality will definitely set in. It's going to feel very scary. It's going to feel like, you know, you've been trying to trust your intuition, you've been trying to find your way through the fog, and then all of a sudden you're like next to a cliff and you almost fall off. It's not about, you know, it's not about remaining in the fog. It's not about standing still. What this is really about is keep moving forward and be clear. Be strikingly clear of what you need to change, what you need to cut and sever yourself from in order to keep going on this path. Mars is not going to go through the 8th house without cutting away from something or getting something released from it. So this is going to be the time where you realize what that is, and it's going to feel like a lot to take on, but as long as, again, you just are, you know the path that you're on, you know the path that you're taking, you're ready to take the next step, I think you guys are going to be just fine once you get out of there. But also, when Mars conjuncts Neptune, we have the new moon in Sag. This new moon in Sag is hitting your guys' 5th house of love, romance, sex, children, creation, art, music, all those passionate things. And Jupiter's right there. You know, this is a really big deal because I think this is going to be that new moon that really gets you guys in alignment and attuned with actually pursuing the things that you want and taking those on in a really big new way. As this is Sagittarius and Jupiter's right here, this whole area of your life is definitely being blown up. And I think this new moon is allowing room for that to be cleaned, like allowing that to be cleaned out so that there's room for Jupiter to bring you the things that you want, Jupiter to bring you the things that you enjoy, and to keep finding those experiences. However, Mars conjuncting Neptune on the same day is going to make it very clear of what needs to change. The new moon in Sagittarius is going to allow that energy for you guys to really be open and receptive to that change. And also on the 7th, Mercury will go direct, and he will go direct in Scorpio, where I believe that your guys' mindset is going to be centered on the correct way to be willing to take that next step. So as, you know, we have this new moon in Sagittarius, things are cleaned out, we're clear about setting the intentions on what we want. Mercury and Scorpio is like, you're damn right, we're clear, and this is what we're going to get, this is what we're going to achieve. And again, centering yourself on that forward movement motion, setting yourself on that intense energy of you don't know what it's going to look like at the end, but holding everything you can to ride it out. You know, you're not going to give up. You're Leo risings, you're too stubborn for that. But knowing that you're not going to give up and knowing that you'll do whatever it takes to get to the end of that path. So that's pretty cool, I guess. Moving forward, I would, Chiron goes direct on December 9th, but that's not really a big deal for you guys at all at this moment. On December 12th, though, Mercury will then go back into Sagittarius, where now Mercury can have a little bit more mental focus on what Mercury wants. It's kind of like now that Mercury's got the message clear and he knows what the truth of the message is and what he needs to express. So he goes to the 5th house. Now he gets to have a little bit of fun with it. Now he gets to really go, okay, where can I how many ways can I look at this? Now that I have the message that I want to deliver, what's the way that I want to deliver it? You know, whether it's mail or FedEx or hand deliver or, you know, homing pigeon, whatever it is. Those are all analogies, of course, but that's kind of the theme of Mercury going back into Sag. Then, on I'm still stuck in November. On December 17th, then we have Venus leaving shadow. So Venus is now in unfamiliar territory. She's starting to move ahead. She's wanting to conquer this new territory, but she's passionate, she's volatile, she's mean, she's ready for it. And again, this is going to be the time to center yourself on that energy of like, I'm moving forward, I'm not fucking scared of shit, and I'm ready for it. And you got to center yourself in that energy. And Venus getting out of shadow is now like, all right, like we've already been through this part before. Now you're really on your own. So it's kind of taking all of that in and taking all of that on. Then moving forward to the 20th, December 20th, Venus trines Neptune, where Neptune being in your 8th house, where, you know, the scary things are unclear, change is a very weird process for you guys at this moment. Venus being in Scorpio in that 4th house, trining Neptune, I think is going to be like, overcome that 8th house anxiety that Mars could be bringing. It's going to overcome that 8th house confusion and, you know, scarcity that it often has. And I think Venus's pursuit in Scorpio in your 4th house is going to be so raw and real that trine is going to really allow you guys to see clearly and not be afraid of what that forward movement looks like, and things are actually going to start playing out in your favor in a little bit more of a lucky way. So that's cool. Then on the 21st, we have Mercury and Jupiter conjuncting. This is again happening in your 5th house where, you know, Mercury went through your 5th house. You're like, what do I want to do again? Mercury goes back into your 4th house. You're like, I know what I want to do again. Mercury's going to go back into your 5th house where it's like, okay, now I'm having fun doing what I want. As Mercury hits Jupiter, though, this is going to be Jupiter bringing in those blessings, Jupiter giving you the presents, Jupiter showing you that you can receive what it is that you want. Mercury may have a lot to do in Sagittarius, but he's kind of giving Jupiter a high five. Jupiter's kind of patting him on the back, giving him a couple of, you know, collectibles for his journey or whatever. As Jupiter hits Mercury, I think this is going to be that, okay, now this is what I want to pursue. This is the path that I'm on. I'm ready to take on this path. I'm ready to put the mindset to it, and I'm ready to have a happy, healthy, positive attitude towards doing the things that you really want and having more fun with it. I think that's going to be a really, really big deal. But on the next day, December 22nd, the third and final big day of December, we have the sun going into Capricorn. So now this is entering your 6th house of your work, of your routine, of what you're doing every single day. We have the moon going into Cancer in your 12th house, which is repressed parts of yourself, unacknowledged parts of yourself, the subconscious, asylums, hidden enemies. This full moon, that's going to happen in Cancer, right when the moon hits Cancer, right when the sun hits Capricorn, is going to be very much a reality check. As the sun goes into Cancer, where you're going to start getting more into your routine, getting more into your habits, getting more into your health, creating a healthy framework around that, this full moon in Cancer is going to bring up the things that you need on a very emotional level. Like I'm being raw and real, it's going to be an emotional full moon, and it's going to bring up a lot of the stuff that you need to nurture yourself with, where you need to be more protected, where you need to trust yourself and other people more. This full moon is really going to bring up emotions that you can easily repress and not really acknowledge, and it's really going to ask you to, you know, if this is what you need, what do you have to do every single day in order to attain that, and how serious do you have to be? Because the Saturn-Pluto conjunction also starts on that day. Granted, I'm giving it a 10-degree orb, but I do believe that 10-degree hit right there is going to have a very subtle effect of things getting serious, things getting very raw, doing things on a completely new level that you've never done them before. And I think that's what is really going to be invoked out of this. After that, on December 24th, we have Mercury leaving shadow, and it's squaring Neptune again. So after Mercury's going to get a lot of presence from Jupiter. It's going to be good. But Mercury, after he hits Jupiter, still, you know, he's still a little bit lost and confused. Like, that's the whole thing with this Mercury retrograde, is that you're going to become very clear, but as you keep moving forward, there's still going to be confusion. There's still going to be uncertainty. There's still going to be doubt. Heavy, heavy doubt. I can totally say that for sure. But the key to this is even though those feelings of doubt, those feelings of uncertainty and anxiety are going to be brought up for sure, you have to remain confident in that you have a message to deliver. You have something, it's not, like I said, you're not just going to get to the end. It's a journey. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep walking. You got to keep having that faith and that belief. Don't get confused and don't get overwhelmed with it. Take one step at a time. On December 29th, Mars is then going to hit Chiron, where I think the whole process of Mars going through your 8th house is going to be really intense. But as Mars hits Chiron, I think this is going to be kind of like a healing situation from it. Not so intense, rather more reflective. And man, after that, on the 31st, going into the January 1st of 2019, we got Mars going into Aries, and we got the Sun-Saturn conjunction, which is going to put a whole new tone onto the year. Next year is so fucking serious. Like, this month is really like the month to look at yourself and be like, I'm ready to take this on. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and I'll be seeing you guys for next month's horoscope.